Barstool Sports heads to FS1. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the Dan Le Batard Show is the backdrop. So Dave Portnoy, the Barstool Sports empire, has signed a deal to head on over to Fox Sports 1. Fox Sports 1, low-key, high-key, low-key, high-key, canceled 3 shows. Didn't really tell anybody. Kind of wild, but they canceled 3 shows, and I'm assuming that Barstool is going to fill those slots. And then Barstool will be a huge part of their Big Noon Kickoff shows and their college football program. So we're going to talk about that whole thing. I love talking about the happenings in the sports media space. So let's get into it.
You give me the specifics. I don't know everything happening at Fox Sports. I know that we haven't talked at all about the firing of Craig Carton and Joy Taylor and Emmanuel Acho, and that now they've got a makeover there. Fox has been having trouble since Jamie Horowitz left there. And
so Jamie Horowitz created, he is the creator of Embrace Debate. All right, Horowitz is credited with shifting sports media into what Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless was, and that's his baby, right? So, and Horowitz also was a big part of Colin Cowherd coming over to Fox Sports.
And they are now making over the entire thing. And what are they doing with
the shows that got canceled were The Facility, is it Speak, and then what's Carton Show? I don't even know Carton Show. But those are the 3 shows that got canceled.
Big Noon Kickoff that is now legitimately rivaling one of the biggest sports studio shows there's ever been, ESPN College Game Day.
This is all according to media reports. It doesn't seem like it's finalized, but headed to that direction where Dave Portnoy joins the cast of Big Noon Saturday, and it's a part of an overarching deal where FS1 would rely on Barstool for a lot of its daily content as a cable sports network.
So that is a giant achievement for Barstool, and it's where the country has shifted in terms of, and the business has shifted where these giant companies have.
All right, real quick. So sports media right now, I think you have 2 very distinct styles of sports media. The sports media that is, let's just call it like hard-hitting analysis. Let's call it like you're getting the true, unbiased, no hot take, whatever. You're getting the breakdowns of the games, the players, the situation. Actually, there's 3. I'll give you 3, and they do cross sometimes. But the 3 categories I would put it in right now is what I just said, and then you have your sports betting with huge emphasis on betting. They don't care about the storylines. They don't care about the whatever. They care about the odds. They care about the markets. They care about betting. All right, sports gambling. The third bucket is the like, okay, it's just a bunch of pals sitting on the couch or a bunch of pals sitting at the bar chopping up sports. Very irreverent, but more of like what you'd hear on a podcast, but with sports. Okay, so that's going to be like your Pat McAfee. That's going to be Barstool. Think about like Shane Gillis's podcast, but sports, right? Like that's the 3 buckets. Now they absolutely can intertwine. Absolutely, you can have sitting at the bar talking to your friends about sports with an emphasis on sports gambling, or sports gambling with an emphasis on the metrics and the analysis, whatever. They can all intersect. Some people can do all 3, like me, right? Now, where that has left a lot of people in sports media, like the shows that just got canceled, they're none of them. They're just noise. They have nothing to do with sports gambling. They're not hard-hitting analysis, and it's not like sitting with your friends at the bar talking about sports. So those shows now are in a horrible place. Horrible, okay? Terrible. Like, think about Bill Simmons' podcast and Ryan Russillo. They are your friends at the bar talking sports, but also hard-hitting analysis, right? Like, it's obvious why Bill Simmons and Ryan Russillo are doing so well, because they are a little bit of that Barstool, but also a little bit of what you would want from like ESPN and Fox Sports, okay? Those 3 buckets. Barstool is the king of one of those buckets. What Fox Sports had was none of the buckets.
Have to go outside of themselves in order to find something that reaches young people, because they don't know how to do it on their own. It's
also expensive to create your own content. Correct. And I think as some of these networks are finding, even if you commit a lot of money in salary to a Pat McAfee, if you have a licensing agreement, the overhead is actually more cost effective on the.
Well, here's what also happened is that ESPN, Fox Sports, whatever, they used to be the only place for talent to go. Now, why would talent go there besides like an enormous contract like Pat McAfee? But like for example, for me, if 10 years ago, if you'd have said if whatever, WWL or ESPN New Orleans or someone would have called me and said, hey, we'll give you a show, we'll give you a spot, we'll do this, this, and this. This will be your salary, whatever. I would have said, hell yeah. Now? No way. No way. Because it's all shifted. Like the individual creator is sports media. So ESPN, Fox Sports, these places, I hate to say it, but they're kind of devoid of talent. Like a lot of the analysts on the shows are just noise. They're just blowhards. It's just noise. They're not offering you anything. There's 5 people on a panel and no one knows what the hell is going on. I mean, how many times on this channel have we done videos about a 5-panel show on Fox Sports or ESPN who doesn't know who the quarterback of a team is, or doesn't know who the head coach of a team is, or doesn't know what, like, they're just nothing. And all the talent can be found in random individual podcasts or their own YouTube channel or whatever. Like, that's where it shifted. So ESPN's looking around like, or Fox Sports is looking around like, damn. In those 3 shows we just canceled, there was probably 18 panelists and hosts and analysts or whatever, and none of them did nothing. Like they used to say in wrestling, like, they couldn't draw in a pencil factory. Like, they're not doing anything. They're just there. They're just existing.
Their books and planning out budgets for original content.
But what is the report that Portnoy's just going to be on the show?
That's a report that he's going to be a part of Big Noon Saturday. We don't.
And then they might create a show I saw with him and Big Cat.
Yeah,
just
before
for FS1.
Yeah, because they have a popular Barstool College football kickoff program that's been exclusively on social media and online. And if FS1 does a co-branded thing, they can. It's kind of like the McAfee model. This exists already, and
it's the exact same thing. Exact same thing. So ESPN and Fox Sports, think about their catalog of shows, their schedule during the day. So they're looking at it like, we could pay all these people, we could do all this stuff, we could do these things that probably isn't going to rate, or we can go buy the show that already exists and plug that into this space and put our name on it and call it a day. That's exactly what ESPN did with Pat McAfee. They said, man, having 12 hosts on this panel that no one cares about, how about we just go get Pat McAfee show, plug him into the, whatever it is, 12 to 3 time slot, call it a day. So now Fox Sports doesn't have to worry about going and finding talent, going and finding this, will it rate, will it do that? They just got a nice, ready-to-roll, turnkey TV show that they can plug in.
We're just going to put some FS1 stamp.
That's a great idea.
I am legitimately surprised in 2025 to see these giant entities like Fox and Disney have to figure out a way to go outside of their own talent pools in order to rent the audiences of others.
But why are you surprised? Mike's saying it's easier, it's more affordable.
It's John Skipper tried to do it like 10 years ago and fired them after an episode.
No doubt.
That is correct.
Yeah.
And I'm still legitimately surprised to see the proliferation of having to do it outside because you can't do it for yourself. Fox has had a long time to build what they've built over there, not just inside inside sports, but outside of sports as well. And Fox's initial foray into this environment was to go get Skip Bayless and to go get Colin Cowherd because they don't actually know how to build their own young thing that reaches young people.
No,
Nick Wright. It's not just them.
Nick Wright is responsible for I think the highest.
Yeah, Nick Wright might be the only homegrown talent. I mean, again, I haven't I really thought about this, but he might be the only homegrown talent that Fox Sports really has, or has had, or however you want to phrase it. I can't think of anybody else. Colin Cowherd, Skip Bayless came from ESPN. It might just be Nick Wright. He might be their shining star. But you look at these big conglomerates. I mean, honestly, CBS Sports, God. But CBS Sports just did this with Josh Pate, where they're floundering, they're a disaster, no one watches their stuff. And so they're like, you know what? Let's just bring in Josh Pate's kickoff college football show. Because his show's great, and people love his show. So let's just go get it. There it is. And it really is the model. It really is the move. Again, in New Orleans, wouldn't it make more sense for a station, and I'm not saying that any of us would ever do that, but if you're WWL or any of these other radio stations in New Orleans or TV stations in New Orleans, and you're struggling, no one's watching it, no one's consuming the content, what do you think would be better? To try and hire 20 people to figure out and start a YouTube content or radio content, or do you just go pay for NOF's content and bring them in and let them do their thing, give them a bag and put your logos on it? Do you go get my content? Do you just bring in someone and say, hey, look, do whatever you do, we're just going to put our logos on it, and that's it? That's obviously where this is moving.
Rated show on their network, and he was a star that was cultivated and developed by FS1. He's a legacy talent over there, but this is not a new concept. And I don't know why people don't think this. Maybe it's because it's not an outrageous personality like Pat McAfee or even Barstool. What's the biggest daytime block in the history of ESPN? Daytime.
I mean, the biggest daytime block, I'm not sure what he's talking about, but he's saying not Pat McAfee and not SportsCenter. I mean, if we're talking about like a panel show, ever had to have been First Take with Skip and Shannon. I mean, with Skip and Stephen A. It had to be the biggest show ever for ESPN.
It's pardon the interruption. That was a licensed show. They outsourced that to Eric Ryder.
PTI. I mean, come on, what are we talking about here?
That entire 4 o'clock hour around the horn for 20 plus years being a staple. That wasn't created by ESPN. They trusted Eric Rydholm to do it, so it's not a new concept.
Oh, but wait a minute. What you're describing there isn't something that was already built, and you.
Yeah, they didn't go buy PTI. They didn't go buy Around the Horn.
Have to go get the audience. That's hiring somebody to build something for you. It's
fair enough, but it's a similar concept.
But it's still not their idea. I mean, they still have to outsource it.
It's them punting on, we've taken several shots at trying to create something. Let someone else do it for us.
What's funny is it's the reverse, or it's the exact same, but it's what Barstool got big doing, right? Barstool. Or not, yeah, I mean, Barstool saw Alex Cooper, saw Call Her Daddy, and said, okay, we can make this something. And so they paid her and brought her program onto Barstool. That's how it's worked for blogs forever. That's how it's worked for Barstool, or back in the day, the Chive and Bro Bible. You'd find these individual creators who are doing something successfully, and then you bring them into the fold. And then that's it, right? It's okay, they already have a podcast. They already have a YouTube channel. They already have a shtick. They already have a thing working. Let's bring them on. We're going to bring that entire shtick on. We're going to absorb all of that. And it's just a turnkey thing versus try and create. Now, sometimes you do create your own stuff, but this is something that's been happening for a long time. And I mean, even way back in the IGN machinima days or whatever, where all these gaming channels, these gaming conglomerates would have random individual creators basically own blocks of content blocks.
It's still surprising to me that content companies would have to farm out the content. It's allowed to be surprising to me. These are giant content. Disney's pretty big. They're pretty good at making content.
Yeah, but a lot of young people getting into this business, into this industry now, Dan, they're doing it on their own. And if they become successful and have a huge following like Barstool and like Portnoy, there's an opportunity for them to partner with someone like Fox. I mean, that's just the way it is.
I'm not, but it sounds like I'm complaining about it. I'm allowed to be surprised that content companies need the help. A giant.
I think it's the same thing. It's a little bit different. This is like a stretch, but it's the same thing as a group like Disney or a huge movie company being like, yeah, we don't really have any ideas, so let's just do another Transformers. Or instead of creating the new stuff, how about we just reboot King Kong? Like, to me, it's the same exact thing. You're telling me Disney or MGM or Paramount or wherever, they can't create their own new stuff. They have to just say, it's summertime, we need some blockbusters. How about Independence Day? What are we saying here, ladies and gentlemen? You know, like, it's the same. It's very similar to, let's just go get what works. Let's just go get what's already there for us. And in the content space, like, you know, I don't think it's even close, honestly. Like, I think podcasts, YouTube channels, social media, like, all that has just dominated. It dominates TV or news stations or terrestrial radio or whatever. I mean, to me, it's like, it's not surprising at all. To me, it's surprising that they're still trying to hold on to some of this.
Mainstream content companies need the help to reach young people because of how much everyone's habits have changed and how much the culture has shifted.
But like FS1 did that years ago when they hired Katie Nolan. She was popular on the internet, and then they...
Great shout. Yeah. Katie Nolan, that's a very good shout right there. Katie Nolan was fully on YouTube. You know, it's funny. I've told this story a bunch of times, but Katie Nolan and I started doing very similar stuff on YouTube at almost the exact same time. And she was someone, we don't know each other or anything like that, but she was someone that I used to watch her program because it was all kind of happening at the same time. Like, all of a sudden, these episodic, edited kind of shows were a thing on YouTube, where before YouTube was just like funny clips from a random account that never posted again. You know, it'd be like a funny, like the Charlie Bit My Finger video. That was just one video that happened once on the account, and that was it. The account didn't, you know, do like episodic videos, or they didn't do, it was just, that wasn't what YouTube was. Then all of a sudden, we started seeing stuff like Katie Nolan's show. Norm Macdonald had a YouTube podcast that popped up. Men in Blazers was a big one, where Men in Blazers was kind of this like social media YouTube show podcast thing that then turned into a TV show. And it might have been Fox Sports. They might have actually went on after Katie Nolan. But all of a sudden then, you started noticing these other channels go from YouTube to TV. And Katie Nolan, all of a sudden, her show went from YouTube to Fox Sports. All of a sudden, Men in Blazers went from YouTube and podcast to, I think it was Fox Sports. And that was a long time ago. I was still writing at the newspaper. I was still a Big J journalist at that time. So that had to be like 2014, somewhere in there. So yeah, almost over 10 years ago they tried this. And, you know, it is what it is, but like Mina Kimes is kind of doing it. Mina Kimes is kind of doing it in reverse, where Mina was she was brought in to ESPN, but then she started to figure out, well, I can have my own YouTube thing. I can have my own podcast. Ooh, now I'm doing Love is Blind. Ooh, now I'm doing Love Island. Now I'm kind of doing whatever I want. And she's almost like Mina is almost now an independent content creator who also works for ESPN. Whereas in reality, she's an ESPN employee who also does her own individual content. but it just shows you the power of individual content.
Tried to bring her in and put her on a show with Regis, and then she went over to ESPN when ESPN tried to do the same thing with her. Like, it's not new.
Oh, but it's sort of my point. Katie Nolan did it where she was. They tried to do it with her, and they failed. Now people will accuse them of trying to do it with McAfee and all the others. You mentioned Barstool yourself. Lasted one day there because they didn't know how to deal with it, because Skipper didn't know how to deal with the conundrums that come with going out.
Yeah, so John Skipper is who he's referencing there, and that is the problem, is when you don't go all in, and we've seen it with Pat McAfee. If you bring in the poison, like Vince McMahon brought in the poison of the NWO to WWF way back in the day, if you bring in that poison, you have to go all in. You can't bring in Pat McAfee or Katie Nolan or Barstool or whoever and then put the reins on. You can't bring them in and say, oh, but you can't curse. You can't bring them in and say, oh, well, you can't drink beer on TV. You can't bring them in and say, oh, well, you can't say this about this player's, whatever, appearance. It's like Shane Gillis at the ESPYs. You bring him in, you got to let him do his thing. If you try and rein it in at all, it's going to fail. And Shane did fantastic. But if you start cutting jokes and trimming this and trimming that, the audience is going to know it's inauthentic, and they're going to get pissed. And that's what happened with the Van Talk, is the show they brought in however long ago and lasted one episode because they weren't ready to go all in.
And all of a sudden having to rent your voices as opposed to owning them,
Imagine.
Yeah, it's interesting times, man. I mean, like I said, this is not a surprise to me. The content space is pretty obvious what's happening. Even powerhouses like ESPN, Fox Sports in the sports world, CBS Sports, even in like gaming, like IGN and these like big powerhouse websites, they're giving way to the individuals. Barstool is also part of that. I used to be a diehard Barstool Sports website reader. Like, I would just, have the website up. I'd read the articles. I'd read every article. Like whatever. I can't tell you last time I went to Barstool's website because I ingest all of their content on social media or YouTube. I don't ever go to their website. So, but what that also does is that allows me to pick a la carte of whose content I'm getting. I see all of Big Cat's content. I see all of Dave Portnoy's content. Like, those are the guys I watch their stuff. I don't see any of the other stuff going on. And when you can do that a la carte, like ESPN and Fox Sports, when you can pick what you want to watch, who the hell is picking Speak? Or who the hell is picking The Facility? Or these other shows on ESPN, I can't even name. Who's picking these shows? And then you look at the contracts they're all signing, it's like, man, why is this guy getting $5 million a year? Why is this guy getting $2-3 million a year? Who the hell is watching this stuff? Who like, all of a sudden then the overhead, the producers, the editors. I mean, I can't tell you, even in the YouTube space, I can't tell you how many people with, who is like, oh, well, they've got a producer, they've got a graphic designer, they've got this, they've got that. I got a camera and a microphone. Like, my overhead is nothing. I have zero. Absolutely zero. And I, use this. I've used this metaphor a million times. There's nothing against them. But you think about how much WWL has to pay to produce the content they're producing just to get smoked in the ratings by all of us YouTube creators with $0 overhead. You extrapolate that out to ESPN and Fox Sports and what they're paying in overhead. The content game is funny right now. I mean, you go look at streamers. Go look at Twitch streamers. How much money do you think the overhead is for, I don't, there's not really a comparable comparison. Like Comedy Central. How much overhead do you think 8 hours of Comedy Central broadcasting or MTV, how much do you think it costs? Imagine all the producers, all the editors, the hosts, the HR people, back of staff, whatever, then the actual talent, then to produce it and send it off, and the network fee, all that. 8-hour block of television on MTV or Comedy Central. Think about how much it costs just to produce it. Now think about how much it costs Kai Cenat or Speed for 8 hours to stream. Think about Kai and Speed each streaming for 8 hours. That's 16 hours of content. What's it cost them? However much their internet is, however much their cameras are, a one-time fee for their cameras and lighting. There's no editing. There's no producers. There's no HR teams. There's no back of the house. There's no, fancy studios being rented out or whatever. And they're doing what? Quadruple the numbers? They're doing, when you look at it like that, the content game has flipped dramatically. So, here's the question to you. If you're Comedy Central or you're MTV, what is better for you financially? To take however many resources to build out 3-4 hours of programming, hoping that it works when it probably won't, because who the hell is watching that anymore? Or do you pay Speed and Kai and say, we'll pay you blank amount of money? Let us broadcast your stream for these 3 hours on MTV. What do you think would be better? It wouldn't even be close. It's 100% paying the creator to just rent their content. I think this is smart from Fox Sports. I think especially with Lee Corso and College Game Day kind of shifting, I think they're going to offer a real alternative to ESPN's College Game Day. And they know there's a new generation of an audience coming in, and they're trying to win that generation. I don't hate the idea. All right, ladies and gentlemen, get on down in the comments below. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.